Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. As always, it's me, John and Shannon. I'm joined by Kieran. How are you, Kai?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you, Jordan?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you very much. Bit of snow on my car this morning, so it's coming.
Well, I mean, it's 4 degrees. I'm not enjoying this weather at all, so I think it's pretty much my time to say, winter, here I go. I'm off.
I'll see you in 2026.
2026.
Yes, obviously the second ODI took place today. Obviously, a rain-reduced game. What was your sort of overall thoughts on the game, really, to be honest with you?
Nail biter again, going down to the last over. So that's been sort of the theme of this series. So it's good from that standpoint that the West Indies are competitive. Obviously, you want to start winning some of these games, but I think looking at the bigger picture, my mind is looking at both Josephs coming back into this team or coming into this team and having a stronger bowling attack than what we currently have, which seems to be doing quite well, actually. I think that the West Indies are not too far away. I think the main thing now going into next year, I mean, obviously there's still one game left in this series, but going into next year and trying to build, hopefully, for that 2027 World Cup, the West Indies need to have a settled opening partnership. You can't win games if every game or every other game it's a new combination. We've had John Campbell and Akeem Ogis last night. Obviously, you've had Alec Athanase, you've had Brandon King, you've had Evan Lewis, you've had Amir Jangu. They need to settle on two guys these are your guys, and one guy as a backup, and stop rotating so much and allow these guys to build familiarity with each other and then start building partnerships out in the middle. And I think that will go a long way towards the West Indies being able to get better consistent stats. I think you look at a Casey Carty and a Sherfane Rutherford. I know people may be sort of bemoaning their current form, but let's take, for context, a Rachin Ravindra who's hailed as a world talent, like an up-and-coming young superstar. And both of these guys that I just mentioned in Casey Carty and Alec Athanase, and Sherfane Rutherford, both average more than Rachin Ravindra in 50 over cricket, and this is while they're going through their lean patch. So, I mean, they're young players in terms of their international careers. I think Sherfane's only low 20 games in, Casey's mid 40 games in. They're going to have ups and downs, but to be able to have those kinds of averages and still be going through lean patches is exactly what you want, because then they'll come out the other side of this as better players for having gone through these experiences. You look at Shai Hope, who has literally just mastered ODI batting now. He's at the apex of his powers. You see what he's doing. He can take it fast. He can go slow. He can change the tempo as he pleases. Equal Brian Lara's record in half the matches in terms of centuries scored. Second fastest West Indian to 6,000 runs, just a few innings short of Sir Vivian Richards. Tells you all you need to know. The numbers he's stacking up, not just centuries, but the speed in which he's doing it. So you have an ODI great in the team, and you need to continue to allow Casey and Sherfane to grow into their roles. Obviously, there'll be ups and downs. Hopefully next year, when they're playing a lot more cricket in the Caribbean than overseas, you'll get a lot more consistency from them, having gone through, as I said, these tough times now. But, I don't think that anyone should be calling for these two guys to be dropped, because, as I said, Rachin Ravindra, who's being hailed as a superstar of the era, these guys are averaging more than him going through lean patches. So that tells you how well these guys have been performing. So I think that the West Indies realistically are not as far off as we may think. You need a few things to start falling in place in terms of, as I said, opening partnership, consistency. Whoever those two guys are, like, pick two guys and stick with them regardless of what. The those other two guys in the middle getting sort of more consistent based on these experiences, and those two senior bowlers coming in. I think, the likes of an Akil Hussain will play a part at some point. Obviously, Gudakesh Moti will come back in. Jason Holder will be hovering around, and you've got Matthew Ford as well, along with Jaden Sales. So the team is a lot more settled than people may think. It's just for a few things to click.
And out of curiosity, who are your strongest, what's your opening pairing? All fit?
All fit, no injuries going into the next year. Evan Lewis for his destructive qualities. And I would actually go Justin Graves.
Right, okay.
And then I would go Brandon King at 6.
Okay.
Instead of Justin Graves, I'd go Rostin Chase at 7.
Some depth there in the batting.
Yeah, because then that allows me to be flexible with my bowlers in terms of which combinations I want to go with. The next 4 bowling options, yeah.
And I do want to sort of touch on Shai as well, because I think that obviously you spoke so positively about him in terms of he's currently doing what Shai does, sort of thing, and I think that is an unbelievable statement to not an unbelievable statement, should I say, but when you say something about that, when you're talking about someone who scored 6,000 runs, the centuries he's made, and he's just doing that. It's absolutely fantastic to see how he goes about it. He's the captain of the side. He's captain the white ball side as well. He's come into the test team as well, with a lot of pressure on him in terms of expectation, because everyone can see the ability he's got. So to get that score in India, the century in India, obviously in the last test. But I wanted to ask you, do you think that you talk about obviously going into World Cups and in the T20 one, and obviously looking at the World Cup from the 50 over perspective? Do you think that the way that Shai's going, he could be going into these World Cups as arguably one of the best batters, top 3, top 4 batters in the tournament?
Well, that's not do I think. That's just a fact. He's one of the top 10 batters in the world rankings at the moment. I think he went into the last World Cup being top 10 ranked as well. I think what will happen, though, is he didn't have the greatest of World Cups by his standard the last time around, and he's going to do everything he can do to ensure that the West Indies gets to the next World Cup. And he's going to do everything that he can do to ensure that he has his stamp on a world event, so that he can be mentioned in the upper echelons as he rightfully should be mentioned, because I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to the numbers he's putting up.
No,
but, I mean, you look at Babar Azam, for example, who's had a lean time for the past, let's say, 2 years as well. And he's still got astronomical numbers. And Shai's career has just, if you wanted to invest into a stock, it would have been the perfect stock on the stock market, because it hasn't really dipped in ODI cricket. It's literally just continued to progress up and just trended up the entire time to this point where, as I said, I feel like he's mastered 50 over batting, and he can pretty much do any and everything at this point in any and every condition. I think they said he's now scored a century against all 10 test playing nations as well last night.
I was literally going to say that.
Once you're getting into those kinds of conversations, you're not a good player anymore. You're not a very good player anymore. You're a great player, and people should act and treat him that way, because I'm sure oppositions plan extensively for him in light of his performances around the world.
And that's my point I wanted to get at, is I kind of feel like I kind of want a little bit more kudos for his achievements, in the way of people a bit more respect to his name across the world, really, because what he's doing at the minute, and you look at his performances against Australia, and you look at the performances, the way he batted today it was big. And you mentioned as well a couple of weeks ago about him, the analogy around Mr. Atlas, I think was the term, and I said I didn't quite get it at the time, but to continue to do what he's doing with the pressures he's under takes a lot.
So just think about it. From since the summer until now, he's scored 4 international centuries across formats.
Yeah.
With the chance of, well, I wouldn't play him in the next match.
Well, we'll lead on to
because we've lost the series. So he's been on tour for a long time. I'd rest him, but he's still got the chance of scoring another Test century as well.
Yeah.
Before the year's out, maybe a few. Who knows how the series goes in New Zealand? You know. So, I mean, what more can we say? Like, once you get to the point where people start just accepting your greatness as routine, then that's when you know you're doing something really special.
I'm sure he's scored a combined, give or take, and don't quote me on this for actual figures, but it'd be close to 1,500 international runs maybe this year.
We have to do some research on that and come back with solid facts next.
Yeah, I think it's 654 in ODIs, 556 in T20s, and 279 in Tests. Given the situation with the Tests, again, we'll come back with the actual statistics, but I don't think it's a million miles off those figures. Which is, again, you look at that,
phenomenal.
It is. Anyway, go back obviously onto the ODIs. The point, the point that you mentioned there about Shai missing out. Well, not missing out by any stretch of the imagination, but changes in terms of the third ODI. You mentioned on the message to me about resting obviously Shai, Roston Chase, Jaden Seals, and Romario Shepherd, and bringing in Django, Carripier, Johan Lane, and then Athanaze.
Yep, I mean, I think Shepherd would have played barring he clearly looks to be injured from that first one-day match, and you can see him hobbling around in the field today. So I don't think I want to put any more strain on him. You want to keep him as fresh as possible. Yeah. You want to minimize the damage that could be done to the injury, and then the other three in Shai, Jaden, and Roston obviously have a Test series coming up in just over a week's time.
Yeah.
And being on tour for so long, you want to try and freshen up those guys as much as possible. So with West Indies having now lost the series, I'd make those changes and bring those other guys in. Obviously, Alec has played quite a lot of cricket on this tour as well. So another opportunity for him. But for the other guys, a chance to see what they can do in not only in these conditions, but just going forward, so you can sort of have an idea of how you want to start shaping your squad. Because, for example, you look at the likes of an Amir Django averaging 38, but not being able to get a consistent run. It's generally always this situation when it's the last game of the series.
Yeah.
How will he perform in these conditions now? Where will he bat? What role will he be given? Obviously, he'll be expected to wicket keep if Shai is rested, but what number will he bat? Who will slot into what positions? It'd be interesting to see, but that's the road I would go.
I'm with you on that. I think the game management that we've spoken about that, during the last few episodes, various conversations that we've had. So it does make sense as well, and especially with Roston as well, because with him being captain, I liked him to have that ability just to shift the focus over now and obviously work towards that first Test. And obviously they've got they play in a warm up match as well. So I think it would allow him to give that. From a conversation from a player's perspective, if you was to say a Justin Graves, you mentioned about you'd like to see him at the top of the order, or a Amir Django in that, would a player go and speak to the coach about that, or what would you do in a situation like that?
I'm definitely, every time I see the coach, I'm letting him know.
Yeah.
100%. If it were me, I'm definitely letting him know, look, just giving him the nod, not down, up.
This is
get me up there.
Get me up there.
And obviously, a next interesting thing as well is, because I've mentioned I would be resting Roston and Shai. You're gonna need someone to captain in that last game as well, because Roston took over when Shai rested in Bangladesh. So, I mean, what are your options? Are you looking at Justin Graves, who was in contention for the Test captaincy?
Yes.
Are you looking at Sherfane Rutherford? I think he was named vice captain for some tour recently. Are you looking at Casey Carty? So, you want to see what options are available and how they handle captaincy as well. Does that increase their performance? Do they look phased? So, there's lots of learnings to take away still.
Yeah, no, it's good. A very good point. That it was a good point. So yeah, we'll see how the third ODI goes. But just to obviously, without finishing the episode, Kieran, we have obviously got some information and we spoke to some of the coaches following not following, but leading into the Super 50, which starts today. So we'll play the quick catch ups with the coaches.
I think preparations has gone, pretty decent for us heading into this tournament. We had a few practice games after selecting our final squad. Our batters did get a pretty good hit. We had a few batters getting hundreds, which is most importantly, we had a few getting big 50s in the trial games. I'm not going on to get hundreds, but what we saw in the practice games is that batters going on to get that triple figure mark, which is really, really good to see. The team is expected that I'm expecting the team to do well this year. We want to go one step further. Last year we lost to Barbados in the semi-finals, and we're really disappointed because I thought that we had a really good chance last year. So hopefully we can go one step further, get into the finals, and take the trophy. We are still defending champions. Hopefully we can defend the title. So we will be looking forward. We just want to take one game at a time. It's a process. We need to trust the process and go through the process. We have a few youngsters coming through. Satrohan Rambaran, Abdurrahim Toppin, fast bowler. Satrohan Rambaran, who is opener, top order batter, who has done really, really well throughout the trials and the practice games. And he is one to look at. Abdurrahim Toppin, he is also one of our fast bowlers, youngster, just 19 years old, and he is one to also look out to. So I think we have a good bunch of youngsters who's going to blend in well with our senior players, and we look forward to this engagement. I think it's going to be exciting tournament, short but exciting tournament.
Team preparations have been going really well. We had a camp for the last 2 weeks before we came to Trinidad. Guys participated in doing lots of skills after drills, and then we played 2 practice games, which we were very happy with. In terms of new players to look for, I wouldn't say he's a new player, but Carlin Bowen took it. First time at Leeward Islands level, also Nathan Edward. Those are 2 players who like people look out for. And obviously we come to a competition to win. Semi-finalists last year, finalists year before. So the aim of this year is for us to win the competition.
Our Super 50 preparation was really well done. We had 8 weeks of a lot of skill, tactical and fitness focused sessions where we focus a lot on the individual and specific needs for their role coming up with Super 50. I'm very confident that this time around we will have a lot more consistent performances straight across the board. With the preparation that we had, you could definitely see players a bit more confident, a bit more sure about their roles and how they want to play. So that's a very positive sign for us. Our expectations this year, obviously, just like everybody else, is to first give a good account of ourselves and look to push for the tournament. We have 2 new players, one in Darren Ned. He is a middle order batter and who also bowls fast as well, medium fast. And we also have Daniel McDowell. He is a left-handed bat and also bowls off spin. Both are Grenadians and are very excited to be part of the Windward Volcanoes. And also we have young left-arm seamer in Kirsten Murray, straight out of under 19, and he was rewarded a contract from his elevation from under 19, and in the Windward Senior Tournament he is definitely one for the future and definitely is hungry and keen to do well for himself and for the Volcanoes.
Yeah, so we've just heard from obviously Red Emirates, head coach of Trinidad and Tobago, Steve Loybert, head coach of the Leeward Islands Hurricanes, and Kenroy Peters, head coach of the Woodward Islands Volcanoes, on, what their preparation was like for the tournament. What should we expect from their respective teams? And some young players to look out for. I think that this is going to be, as I mentioned in a previous episode, a very big opportunity for young guys looking to come into the West Indies setup. There's never, as far as I know, there's never a bad time to play international cricket. So
very true.
Guys can go to Trinidad. I've seen that the games have started already, but I've seen that there seems to be a lot of bad weather around in terms of rain. I know that the Barbados and Trinidad game is a 20 over game now that's just started.
Right.
And the Guyana and Jamaica game all but completed the first innings, 47 overs bowled. I think Guyana had 287.
Yeah, I've seen that couple on the score, yeah.
Yeah, rain came and sort of messed up the end of the Guyana innings. So it's going to be interesting to see, I guess, how much rain plays a part, because put up stumps in the Caribbean, you expect rain. It's going to be interesting to see, because again, it's such a truncated tournament, playing every other day. Teams playing at the Brian Lara facility that has sort of the best drainage need to maximize on the amount of games you play there and try and win as much games, because the drainage on the other fields won't be as good, and so you may have games rained out or reduced over games where maybe teams wouldn't have practiced or prepared as much for that. So it's going to be a very good tournament to watch. But as I said, most importantly, we just want to see good performances from all the teams, and the Leeward Islands lift the trophy at the end of it.
It was good though to get to speak to the coaches about this preparation aspect to it, because obviously that's these conversations that we've been having over the past weeks and stuff. So it's good to get their actual take on it, and obviously share that to our listeners and people watching as well, which is good to get those insights. But hopefully the weather doesn't play too much of a part that it affects the tournament, because ultimately at the end of the day we want to see competitive games and the best team win. That's not doesn't play not rain affected, and it starts to get involved in the game really.
100%. So looking forward to that. I'm going to go and check out a bit more of those games for the rest of the evening, as long as I'm up. And then obviously, I've set a hard rule now that I stay up to watch no cricket past my allocated bedtime of 5 a.m. So we'll see how far we get.
Well, that'll serve you well Friday, because you'll be able to watch the opening of the Ashes. That's 2:30 till 5. So yeah, I'll till 2:30. It starts at 2:30, 3 o'clock, I think it is. So
I'll see the first session.
Well, to be fair, you might, I might be able to speak to you Friday, because I might be up a bit at that time. Well, I will say up. I'll probably wake up earlier than normal. To be fair, like ships in the night normally at some times. Exactly. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us another episode of the PowettPlay Podcast. Speak soon.